Hello and welcome again to another screencast edition of Autodesk Maya. Today we'll be talking about modeling rough terrain and non-uniform nature-made objects like rocks and mountains and everything else. So we've learned the basics of modeling man-made objects and pretty much anything that's man-made and non-organic. Today we'll be actually focusing on modeling organic, non-uniform models like terrain, rocks, and everything else in between. There's more than one way to this approach. There's two ways to use it. Either you could create a polygon primitive cube or a polygon primitive plane to be as your format for your um, bottom terrain. So the best ideal would be the cube because it gives you enough depth to raise certain parts of your terrain without having to compromise the, the area, how it's placed, or creating like blank space. So what I'm going to do is go to the box on the polygon primitive cube and open up my options. So if you go to your settings right here, usually it would be set up to your um, width, height, and depth division on 1. So I would recommend that you set your levels up to 20 here on the width, height, and depth. So you have enough subdivisions to make modifications with the terrain. So once you have that, press create. And basically you'll have this big giant Rubik's Cube like box. Now don't worry, all you have to do is making sure that follow through. So give this just enough. So let's see, a good amount of depth on this should be at least, yeah, 1.15. I mean, it should be 0.15. So it's not too deep, but it's just right. So I'm going to press the D key as in dog to change my anchor point to here. I'm going to hold the X key as an X-ray. Oh, sorry. I'm going to press, yeah. So let's see. Let's move this on the top right here. Press the D key again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press the V key as a victorious to do a snap, my anchor point. So once I have that, I'm going to press D again to deactivate my move anchor point. And then what I'm going to do is pretty much stretch this out on the X and Z planes right here. And what I'm going to do is lower the depth just enough. Now, if you're worried about sort of making too many subdivisions here, so width, you could easily change it up by going to create polygon primitive cube. Let's see. And change the width to say maybe 10. You could create that. Here we go. And you could see a slight difference on the amount of width that you have right here in subdivisions versus what you have here. So that could be adjusted to each their own, or if you want, just start from one and just add more subdivisions by using the edit mesh tool. By using the mesh tools to create and insert edge loop tool. But for now, we'll use this. So there are two tools that you could use to create, modify, and sort of make rough non-uniform uh, terrain. So all you have to do is go to surfaces and sculpt geometry tool. That's the first one. Sculpt geometry tool basically uses a paintbrush to sculpt your specific geometrical figure into whatever you want. So you have different brush types. I usually use the soft brush tool. Make sure you always lower your opacity because one, the sculpt parameters operations tend to be run strong. So it's best to have it lower and you can easily adjust if you want to ramp it up. So I'm going to use this here. I'm going to lower it to here to create, create at least a sinkhole right here. Just like that. And if I wanted to, I could easily increase the brush size like this by holding the B key as in boy. Hold the B key and click and drag to increase the brush size. And I could easily, just like that, instantaneously, I can make terrain. And I can easily isolate a specific point in an area. If I wanted to, I could ramp it up and it could make the geometrical figures of this area look more rough. So maybe if you do that, so again, lower the opacity, you have more of a soft increase. When you have the higher opacity, you run the chances of making rough terrain look rough because it pulls out instantaneously. So if you look right here, so maybe if I want to do so right like this, you could do that right here. And there. And this is your perfect example of rough terrain. Now, if you want to emphasize on a certain specific area to make it more rough as it is, you could easily select one of these tools right here, double click like that, and select the edges, go to mesh display and harden edge. What it does, it basically emphasizes a specific edge line right here to make like a mountainous rigid area. So that's one way. The second way is using the soft modification tool. So in order to go to soft modification, you need to go to deform, soft modification. Select the box that is provided. Fallout radius should be set up to more or less like this with the fall off curve set up like that. Press soft mod. And if you want to emphasize on one specific area, just select the area that you want and it'll pretty much isolate the area within using color-coded visuals. So again, like the sculpt geometry, you could increase the brush size of it so you could increase the isolation points in it. So you use, with that, you have the universal manipulator tool to sort of increase the size, pull the area, even rotate it too. So that's one way to approach, whichever works for you. So if you wanted to point out to one specific point, you're more than welcome to. Now, fair warning about the soft modification tool. As you notice, you'll see the little S's that are provided here. That's soft modded, and you'll see a big giant clutter of soft mod handles that is made. In order to get rid of the soft mod handles, all you have to do is press the edit delete by type, history, and it'll get rid of the S's. Now, with terrain, you could use that at least as long as it falls within the grid range. So you don't have to run the risk of, like, black spots or, negative spots there. Again, you could use different shapes like the sphere to make rocks, rock terrains, or even the cube to make more terrains like that. So, sphere, cube, those are the best ones to use to make rock formations. So, whichever works for you, it could be used. So, I could even add more. So, right here, I could easily mold this however I want. So again, maybe use sculpt geometry just because. And you can even make indentions too, just to make it look like there's wear and tear on objects. So like water hits this, or if you want to smooth it out on certain areas, you can from here. Again, you have operations, push, uh, pull, smooth, relax, pinch, slide, erase. What erase does, it uh, undoes everything and treats it back into its normal setting. So this is a good way to make a rock. You can make duplications out of this. But this pretty much covers today's tutorial about modeling terrain. Thank you very much.